All right, third graders, the challenge of today's project is this huge piece of paper you have at your table spots. So bear with me as I try to demonstrate on this big piece of paper, and my video screen is not the largest. You are going to need a paper plate with white paint, 3 different brush sizes, water cup to share, and the paint to share at your table. So we are not going to be drawing first. I am going to start with my big brush. I'm going to slide everything else out of the way. And in this paint, I am going to mix a little bit of blue. So blue is not at your plate. You're going to have to take a little, I'm trying not to use that word, dab of blue. So there's enough on that brush to see it. And I'm going to bring it to my white, and I am going to create a tint of this blue. I am not mixing it all the way. So what I'm going to do with this half mixed blue is I am going to create a pretty big circle at the bottom of my paper. Now there are a lot of blue spots on there. I actually don't want to use any more blue. I'm going to go right to this white that I have left. And I'm going to mix that white in with the blue, trying to fill that circle in so that I don't see any of the paper color through. So that is about as dark as I'd want that blue to be. Okay, so you can see some different values in there. I might want one edge to be a little bit darker. So for that, I would go to my blue, take a tiny, tiny amount, and I might create a little bit of a darker value on one side to make that really start to look rounded. Now I'm going to wipe some of that blue off, and I'm going to go and get a big scoop of that half mixed, and I'm going to go to the middle circle, slide this paper down. This middle circle has to touch. They're going to connect. It's going to sit on top of that bigger one, and then I have room for a small one. I still have quite a bit of paint on my brush, so I'm going to try to get that small one. Notice how I still have some space at the top of my paper. That way I can add a hat and things if I'd like. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit more of that blue, just a tiny bit, and I'm going to go on one side of that circle. That got really dark, but now as I blend it, it's really starting to look three-dimensional. I'm going to add a little bit more to this middle one. I'm not leaving it so there's a stripe. I keep rubbing my brush over the top, trying to get those colors to blend. And then again on the bottom, I'm going to go a little bit darker. You can also add a little bit of a dark blue shadow, like where those pieces of snow would connect. Kind of helps it look a little bit more 3D. Now my snowman is floating. So while I still have, trying to move this paper for you, while I still have this white plate, I'm going to get some snow at the bottom. Most kids forget about this and they end up with floating snowmen. So I'm just kind of painting the bottom. Now I would bring this big brush to Mrs. Cleary's table into the red bucket. That way it's out of the way. What we're ready to do now is we're ready to add details. So you just saw a lot of examples. You can make this snowman into anything. Use your smaller 2 brushes for this. I'm going to add a carrot nose. So I'm going to use my small brush. I like to have the triangle kind of going out to the side. It can go down as well. You do not have to have a carrot nose. If you want something else, you can definitely make that. I'm going to wash my brush really well. I'm going to go kind of traditional, and I'm going to do some black coal for the nose, or sorry, for the eyes. Okay, I see there's a problem on this one. When I washed my brush, it's not clean and it's really wet. When you wash your brush, make sure you get it all the way to the bottom of the cup. Rub that paint off on the edge and even squeeze out the water. If you want to get a paper towel to make sure your brush is dry, that is much nicer. I have seen kids get really runny, drippy paint, and it ruins their awesome snowman. I might even give this snowman a top hat. So make sure you're washing your brush between colors. Make sure you're getting it dry by squeezing it or even using a paper towel. You can use any of the colors. You can make this frosty, you can make this into a funny looking snowman or a character snowman as long as it's appropriate. When you are finished, a choice is to go back to your plate, and with your smaller brush you can add some snowflakes on your painting if you'd like, and snowflakes would even fall in front of your snowman so you can layer them. If you want a completely nice circle, you can even use the end of the paintbrushes and kind of stamp to get some really nice snowflakes. Up to you. When you're finished, we're going to start by putting all of these large paintings on the back counter to dry. When that is full, just listen to where Mrs. Cleary tells you to put them next.